It was a summer night, humid, still, and suffocating in that way only city nights can be. The kind of heat that sits on your skin like a second layer, sticky and persistent. I remember it vividly because I couldn't sleep. The fan was spinning, my window was open, but the air wouldn't move. Just when I was thinking of grabbing ice water, my phone buzzed. My aunt's voice trembled on the line. "Michael's been taken to Crestwood Hospital. Chest pains. They're keeping him overnight. I don't want to be alone." I didn't hesitate. Michael was my uncle, but more than that, he was my favorite person growing up. I threw on jeans, grabbed my keys, and drove through the empty streets. By the time I reached Crestwood, it was almost midnight. The hospital parking lot felt wrong. Half the lights were off, and those that flickered gave off this unnatural yellow glow. A soft breeze passed through, but it didn't feel cool. It felt cold, like it came from underground. I should have turned around right then, but I didn't. As the automatic doors hissed open, the air changed. It was thick, still, as if the building had taken a breath and was holding it. The lobby was too quiet. The receptionist, a pale woman with gray eyes, barely looked at me. She slid a pass across the counter. "6th floor, room 13B, she said flatly, as if rehearsed. "Thanks," I said, but she didn't respond. Her eyes didn't even follow me as I walked away. The elevator creaked on the way up, groaning like it resented the movement. Inside, the light overhead flickered as if something unseen passed by. I stared at my reflection in the steel doors, trying to shake off the unease. But when they opened to the 6th floor, it was dim, too dim. Only half the lights worked, and some flickered in slow, sickening pulses. The corridor was long, lined with pale green tiles that had faded into a sickly gray. It smelled of antiseptic, but also something else. Something wet and earthy, like a flooded basement that had never dried. I walked down the hall toward 13B, passing old portraits of staff, faded frames, black and white photographs, but something about them made my stomach knot. One of the doctors had no eyes, just hollowed black smudges. I kept going. When I reached room 13B, I knocked, no answer. I knocked again, louder, still nothing. I pushed the door open. The room was freezing, and not just cold, unnaturally cold. My breath fogged up instantly, and my skin prickled with goosebumps. The lights inside were dim and bluish, the type that hums but doesn't actually light anything properly. The bed was perfectly made, crisp sheets, fluffed pillow, but empty. I stepped inside, confused. The clipboard at the foot of the bed had my uncle's name. Admitted at 11:37 p.m. That's when I heard it. "Michael," whispered in a raspy voice. Not angry, not urgent, just close. I spun around. No one. But the curtain next to the bed was moving, swaying slowly, as if someone had just walked behind it. I called out, "Hello?" No answer. The hairs on my neck stood straight. On the window pane, a handprint appeared. Clear, fresh, from the inside. I hadn't touched it. I backed away, stumbled into a chair, and nearly fell. My instinct screamed, "Get out!" I didn't argue. I turned and sprinted out the room. The hallway was darker now, pitch black at the far end. Only a few lights remained, flickering like candles about to go out. As I reached the elevator, I could feel something behind me, breathing slow and heavy. Not footsteps, just presence. I hit the elevator button again and again. Then I looked down. The floor beneath me was wet. My shoes made squishing sounds as if I stood on soaked carpet. A smell rose. Decay, mildew, rot. The elevator dinged. I dove in. As the doors began to close, I looked down the hall. A nurse stood at the end. Her uniform was old, faded, like it hadn't been worn since the 80s. Her posture was rigid. Her head was tilted to the side, far too far, like her neck had snapped and someone had tried to twist it back. She smiled at me. The elevator closed, and I rode down in total darkness. No lights, just my own reflection in the steel doors. Except something was off. There was a second reflection beside mine. When the doors opened in the lobby, everything was different. The room was empty. No receptionist, no lights. Dust coated everything. Outside, the lot was barren. No cars, not even mine. I turned back to the hospital entrance. The sign above the door now read, "Crestwood Memorial, closed since 1989. And in the reflection of the glass doors, I saw her again. The nurse, behind me smiling, her head tilted. Now I'm still here, trapped. Every door I open leads me back to the 6th floor. Every time I blink, room 13B is just down the hall. But if Crestwood closed in 1989, then who called me that night? My name is Daniel. 2 months ago, I moved into what I thought was the perfect house. It was just outside a small, quiet town, surrounded by pine trees that whispered when the wind blew through them. The listing said it had 3 bedrooms, an attic, and a basement, all at a price so low it felt almost suspicious. But I didn't ask questions. I was going through a rough patch, a recent breakup, quitting my job, cutting off most of my old life, and I needed a reset, a place to breathe. The moment I stepped through the front door, it felt like the house was holding its breath. There was something too still about it. No creaking, no distant hum of appliances. Just silence, thick and cold, like the air hadn't moved in years. But I convinced myself it was just old. Old houses settle weird, and my imagination runs wild when I'm alone. I liked the silence at first. No Wi-Fi yet, no neighbors for at least half a mile, and almost no cell signal. For someone like me who needed to get away from everything, it was perfect. That night, after unpacking a few boxes, I made some tea and wandered the halls, trying to get familiar with the layout. That's when I noticed the hallway closet. It was oddly placed, squeezed between 2 bedroom doors. When I opened it, I noticed the smell right away. Musty and burnt, like a fire that had been put out a long time ago. The wallpaper inside the closet was different too, darker and curling at the edges. It didn't match the rest of the house. It felt off. I brushed it off and closed the door. But as I turned to leave, I heard something. A soft thump, like something falling inside. I opened the door again. Nothing had moved. I checked the shelf, the floor, even the ceiling. It was empty. Just old air. That night I heard footsteps, not like someone walking upstairs or on the porch. These came from the hallway outside my room. 6 slow steps. Then silence. I froze. Waited. Nothing. I eventually fell asleep with the bedside lamp on. The next night, the same thing. 6 steps. Stop. Nothing more. I started locking my bedroom door. One morning I went to check the closet again. Something told me I needed to. This time I noticed that one of the walls inside felt hollow when I knocked on it. Not just old drywall, like something behind it wasn't solid. I didn't investigate that day, but the thought stuck with me. A week later, I found a box in the attic marked Mackenzie. That wasn't the previous owner's name, at least not the one from the documents. The box was filled with old photographs, a few brittle newspaper clippings, and a worn leather journal. The photos were all of the same woman, maybe in her early 30s. In each picture, she stood in front of the hallway closet. In one, she smiled. In the next, her expression was blank. In the last photo, she wasn't in it at all, just the open closet. The newspaper clipping was short and vague. Emily Mackenzie vanished from her home under mysterious circumstances. Last seen in the upstairs hallway. No forced entry. Husband claims she simply disappeared. Police investigation remains open. I read the article 3 times. She vanished. In the hallway? I felt my chest tighten. I grabbed my flashlight and opened the closet again. I tapped along the back wall until I found the hollow spot, then pressed hard. With a creak, the panel shifted. A narrow, steep staircase led downward into pitch blackness. I should have called someone, or at least waited until daylight, but I stepped inside. The air changed, heavier, colder, like something was pressing against me. At the bottom of the steps was a small, stone-walled room. No windows, no door, just a chair. On the chair was a dress, old-fashioned, faded. Next to it was a lock of hair, dark and long. I reached out without thinking, and then the panel slammed shut above me. I ran up the stairs, heart hammering, but the door wouldn't budge. That's when I heard the whisper. He closed it on me too. It came from behind me, low and quiet. I spun around. No one, nothing, just the cold. A minute passed, then another. The panel opened. I don't know how. I didn't question it. I just ran. I boarded up the closet that night, covered it with furniture, tried to forget. But every night since I hear those same footsteps, 6 of them. Then silence, then 3 knocks. Sometimes I hear her whisper again, "There's room for one more." I haven't opened the closet since, I won't. But sometimes when I pass it, I hear breathing. Not mine, not from inside the house, just breathing, like she's still there waiting, and now I can't stop thinking, what if next time she doesn't knock? My name is John, and I used to laugh at ghost stories, especially the ones about our school library. They said it was haunted by a teacher who died decades ago. The rumors were vague: a strict woman, terrifying but brilliant, who mysteriously disappeared after a student prank went wrong. No one knew her name. They just called her Miss. Every teacher's day, seniors dared each other to sneak into the restricted section of the library, the old wing that had been sealed off since the 90s. Dusty books, broken shelves, and a single wooden desk with a cracked nameplate that no one could read anymore. This year, it was my turn, and I wasn't going alone. I dragged my friend Sam along, both of us laughing like idiots, holding flashlights and snacks, ready to spend the night behind the stacks. The librarian had locked up around 6 p.m. for the holiday, and we waited until dark to slip in through the back window, the one with the busted latch. It creaked just like in horror movies. Inside, the air was still, not musty like you'd expect, more like preserved, as if nothing inside had aged. We tiptoed through the maze of shelves until we reached the roped-off section. A faded sign read, "Faculty materials do not enter." Sam gave me a look, grinning. I rolled my eyes, lifted the rope, and we crossed. The temperature dropped instantly. "I thought this was supposed to be a prank," Sam whispered. "Why does it feel like a crypt?" I shushed him, pretending to be brave. But truthfully, my stomach twisted when I stepped through the archway into the restricted zone. Rows of desks. A chalkboard still smudged with writing, and at the far end a teacher's desk covered in old papers. We sat, half laughing, pretending to attend class in the ghost room. I even grabbed a chalk and scribbled "Happy Teacher's Day" across the blackboard, snickering. Then the board erased itself. No joke. The words slowly faded, as if wiped by an invisible hand. Sam saw it too. His flashlight shook in his hand. "Did you—" Before I could answer, we heard it. Tap, tap, tap. Not footsteps, not knocks. The sound of chalk. Writing. We turned back to the blackboard. New words appeared, one letter at a time. Detention. John and Sam. My blood went cold. Sam bolted, but the door slammed shut. I ran to the window, sealed, like it had never been broken. Lights flickered. Books flew off the shelves. A loud, angry whisper echoed through the library. No talking during class. We dropped to the floor, screaming. From under the teacher's desk, a figure rose, tall, pale, her face hidden behind a veil of long black hair. One hand clutched a ruler, the other held a class register. She spoke. "You think this day is a joke?" I couldn't speak, couldn't move. She floated towards Sam. He screamed, and then rah. Silence. When I woke, it was morning. I was in the hallway outside the library. Alone. The door was wide open, but inside was just a regular library. No desk, no chalkboard, no papers, and no Sam. I ran to the principal's office, shouting. They searched the school, called the police. They never found him. The librarians swore no students had stayed late. Security cameras showed nothing after 5:55 p.m. The footage just skipped an hour. No one believed me. But a week later, I found something in my locker. A piece of chalk, wrapped in a paper that said, "You're next, John. Don't forget your homework." Feeling in the end, since that night I haven't stepped inside another library. I transferred schools. I don't talk about Sam anymore, but every teacher's day I wake up with chalk dust on my desk, and I keep asking myself, was she ever really gone? Or did we just forget to respect her?